Good evening. This is the September 7th planning and zoning board meeting. It is 6:06 p.m. and we are live. No chair for a second. So, Sherry, if we go ahead and have the roll.
Sure. Mark Hum.
Here.
Warren Cotton.
Here.
Ed LeBlanc. Zaid Shamsi Basha. Daniel Walesky. Evelyn Urquideo.
Here.
Alexander Cole.
Here.
You have a quorum.
And since we've started the meeting and we've done roll call, I'm just going to make the recommendation that we move prior to the pledge and the addition and deletions. We move the election of the Planning and Zoning Board Chair and Vice Chair. That way we can have somebody to kind of lead our discussion here. So if anybody would like to make any nominations, now would be the time to do so. It's Mr. Hum. For chair? Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and then, since in the absence of a chair, go ahead and call the vote for Mr. Cotton as the chair. All in favor, say yeah. Okay. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm an architect. Let me see, I'm a local architect. I've got, planning staff knows me quite a bit. In Lake Worth, I probably have about 40 projects completed. Some of them bigger ones that are happening at the moment. Not the Gulf Street, but the other ones at Condo Restaurant. And some of them, there's a building across the street, which is the yellow building, the historic building. Been redoing that one.
And you've been on the board for a few years now, right? Yeah.
I'm a graduate of Cornell University. I teach at FIU, at Cornell, and at FAU.
All right. So is that by consensus? Okay. Are there any nominations for vice chair? All right, so we have two nominations, Zaid and Mark. Okay, so why don't we discuss Zaid first?
I mean, to be honest, I've been on this board just about a year. I don't have very much familiarity with Robert's rules. I'm comfortable being this chair, but I would defer to either really Ed or Mark, who have been on this board longer or the same time.
I know Mark didn't express an interest. I mean, normally as staff, I don't make a recommendation. I'm just, because I know we have a lot of new folks, and I know, since I know you or Ed expressed an interest, maybe Dan, would you be interested in vice chair because you have the most experience in public hearings, I think, out of everybody at the next level of, because we're kind of filling a spot. Would you be interested in vice chair? Okay. Okay. So do you want to take a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Wonderful. Now we can have a normal meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, if you would, we are leaving off at the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could lead the pledge.
Okay.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, we have no, staff has no additions, deletions, or reordering at this time.
The approval of the minutes. So should we go, does anybody have any issues with the August 3rd minutes?
If you can speak closer to the mic.
Okay.
Turning your mic on, that's the issue.
Hello. Hello.
There you go. Your chair now, Juan, you got to shout it out.
Okay. Does anybody have any issues with the August 3rd meeting? Anything that comes to mind? Okay, so shall we approve the minutes for August 3rd? Second. Okay. Vote, we're all approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so there we have it, the approved minutes for August 3rd. Is there, on any of the cases, is there anyone that needs to be sworn in? This would include staff and applicants for any of the hearings. Could you please stand up, swear?
Please rise if you plan to give testimony this evening. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
The continuance of item A, that's on the agenda.
It's on the first item, but turn on your mic, Dan.
Yeah.
It's in the order.
New business, yeah.
Yeah, so I would motion we approve the agenda with the continuance.
Well, no, we need a motion on the continuance. So we already approved, you guys, there was no additions. So let's get to the let's do the continuance as its own item and then have a separate motion on that.
Proof of publication, I'm sure the staff has approved items 1, 2, and 3.
All items have, all 6 items have proofs of publication.
Okay. Any withdrawals and postponements?
There is, we probably under new business, we probably should have made the postponement is would be under new business, but we can handle it then.
Okay, and consent, anything on consent with the staff?
No.
No? Public hearings, any board disclosure? Have you spoken to anybody, including Mickey Mouse? No? Nothing? All good? Okay. And unfinished business. That's the election of the PZB chair and vice chair.
We already took care of that.
You know that. Now on to new business. Item A, which is PZB 2214000020. Major site plan, conditional use permit, and sustainable bonus request for 2202 Lakeworth Road to construct a 4-story, 99,800 square foot self-storage facility. The sustainable bonus request is for an additional 2 stories in height to allow a 4-story building. The property is zoned for mixed use west, MUW.
And so for this item, we were working with the applicant to try to get them on this agenda, but the resubmittal was very late. So yeah, so so they didn't quite make it, but they're going to be here next month. So
That'll be continued.
right. So we need a motion for the continuance to the next planning and zoning board meeting, which will be
That'll be October 19th.
October 19th.
Is there a motion?
So
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And just a little background, why we continue items is that they have been duly noticed. And what happens is as part of the notice is very onerous. There's a 400-foot individual letter that's sent to every property within 400 feet of the subject site. And when something is, and then it's advertised in the newspaper in a paid ad, and there's also signs posted in addition to the letters. So what this does is this puts everyone on notice. We put it on the agenda that it's going to be moved, and then we don't have to redo all of that effort again. The meeting is just moved to the next meeting. Okay.
Got it. Okay, item D, the hyperlink, PZB 22-01400010. Consideration request of a major site plan and conditional use permit to construct a new 16,803 square foot public works fleet maintenance facility, offices, and emergency operations center to replace the existing fleet maintenance facility at 1749 3rd Avenue South. The subject site is zoned public, which is for the city, and has a future use land use designation of public as well. So that will not change. I don't see any real issues with this, and we need this.
Well, we have to go to the staff presentation first.
I understand,
so.
but I do believe we need this facility, and we have to upgrade the previous. Okay.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Aaron Sita, Assistant Director for Community Sustainability. As the chair stated, the item is for a major site plan and conditional use. This is to build a new fleet maintenance facility and public works offices for our staff. Right now, they're in a portable, which is really exciting. And in addition, we need a new emergency operations center, which is really vital for our staff. So Going forward, you can see here's the location. It's kind of at our existing public utilities site, which is north of 6th Avenue South and west of South A Street. This is the property owner is the city of Lake Worth Beach. The site is about 4.6 acres. And the existing land use is, of course, government and utility, and it is in the public future land use and zoning district. You can see here is a bird's eye view of the site. I'm going to show you with the mouse here. It'll let me. This is the area that is proposed for development. While there is some paving on the proposed site, the majority of it is kind of in this vacant condition. And then as you can see, there is no screening from the rights of way in its current condition. I think a lot of the buildings, just to reference back, I have most of the facilities on this parcel were constructed in 1963. So that's kind of the state of our facilities right there. So we're looking for definitely an upgrade. And Jamie Brown is here from Public Works if you have any questions. Surrounding the site is majority of recreation, sports field, and utility uses. To the south, there is some multifamily zoning districts. Here is a proposed site plan for the affected area. Now the parcel is larger, but the affected area of the parcel is that southern portion. You can see here that there is a large permeable surface on adjacent to the existing residences and the street, which will, and if you looked in your packet, you would have seen the landscape plantings screening the building. Here's an architectural rendering of the proposed project. Again, from a different perspective. And then this is the rear. And this is the only portion that would be fronting the street, which would cross from the residential. Again, the architectural elevations, which are also in your packet. In your packet, in your staff report, we've talked about there's a table that shows the zoning analysis. That's on page 3. The subject request is consistent as conditioned with the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, the qualitative development standards, the community appearance criteria, the city's LDRs, that it's consistent with general findings to harmony with the LDRs and protection of the public interest, as well as specific standards for all conditional uses. Staff is recommending with conditions, approval with conditions. Those conditions are outlined on page 6 of your staff report in your packet. That concludes our presentation. We do have the motions up on the screen for your reference. We have Jamie Brown from the Director of Public Works. For some reason that TV just shut off. Jamie, if you'd like to come up and be available, introduce yourself and see if anybody has any questions.
Hello. As Aaron said, Jamie Brown, Director of Public Works for the city. I'm here for questions.
The fleet is for what type of vehicles? Will it be just for the refuse vehicles, which would be for cars? For what fleet would it be for?
So this is for our entire city fleet. So that's 0 to half ton to 1 ton, and 1 ton and over, which is all our heavy equipment.
Electric cars and things? No.
That's everything. Yeah. So that falls on our passenger vehicles, which is 0 to half ton.
Okay.
But this is for all of our city departments, code vehicles, public works vehicles, electric, utility, everything.
Okay. And right now, where is it right now?
So our existing fleet facility is actually just north of the proposed location where the new building's going to be going. Can you pull it back, Aaron, by chance?
I just was gonna pull it up.
Okay.
And they actually perform repairs?
Correct. We do a lot of the repairs in-house, except for on some of our heavy equipment, like a lot of our larger vehicles, which fall under warranty. Peterson, some of those larger vehicles like Riviera Beach. So we'll send vehicles up there if they're still in warranty for a lot of the.
And what will happen to the facility?
Eventually it will be demoed. I'm not sure if anyone's seen the existing facility from 1963, but it's a miracle every year when we escape hurricane season. So This can't come quick enough.
I'm gonna pull it up, but basically it's not, it doesn't look good. This is a new setup we have, so I didn't quite get it, but I'll work on it.
I'm sure it's.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that it does not understand.
Right. Yeah.
I can, while I'm doing that.
Thank you, ma'am.
I can pull up the pictometry and kind of zoom in on the building and you can get the flavor. I know Jamie, as soon as I get in, Jamie provided some interior photos, which really kind of,
Oh, yes.
yeah, they show kind of really like a better understanding of what we're dealing with. So.
And the storms back in 05, 06, that's what kind of originally, it's really hot, started this issue. And then
Roof.
Where are we getting so much?
the roof has been, we've been band-aiding this property basically for, there are Band-Aids on top of the Band-Aids at this point. So back in 2006, they went to the portables, which were supposed to be temporary. And then in 2014, we ended up actually purchasing more portables, which we're still in right now. Because it's taken this long to get to a point where we can actually get this facility built. So I'm looking forward to having an office that you can't throw on a hitch and drive away.
Just gonna. Are there any other questions or?
If not, I would make a motion to approve.
A second.
If you can make a motion to approve with the conditions?
With the condition, yeah, make a motion to approve with the staff recommended conditions.
Second.
You have to call for a second one. You have to call the question, say,
Vote?
yes.
Yes.
Let me back up just a minute.
You want me to read the title?
Well, just read, it's up here on the screen, just read this. Read up.
I make a motion to approve PTB 22-01400010 request for a major site plan and conditional use permit based upon the competent substantial evidence provided in the staff report and in the testimony at public hearing. And I would motion that approval carry with the conditions recommended by staff.
Second. Yeah. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, as part of your duties, if you will also announce the vote
Right.
at the end of it, so you know if that's a unanimous or 3-2 or whatever it was.
3-2, 1-2. Unanimous.
It just helps us when we're going back and doing
Got it.
minutes. Who was the second? I'm sorry.
No, it was.
I was the second.
Second.
Juan was the first second.
We're gonna
It
go.
was seconded.
I told you about that.
It was unanimous. Okay, moving along, item C, it's PCD 0150003, consideration of a variance to the maximum required fence height for a perimeter concrete wall at 1802 Pierce Drive. The subject site is zoned to single-family residential SFR and has a future land use designation of single-family residential as well. Would the staff have any comments?
Again,
For the record, as you stated, there's a request by Paul and Carla Bloxon for a variance to the maximum fence height. Their property is located at 1802 Pierce Drive. You can see the location is general here. This is in the single family residential district. And their property is kind of unique because it bumps up against this natural area. And then there's some grade differential along the street that the grade goes down as the street dead ends into the natural area. And your packet would include a site plan, which includes the berm and the fence. The total, the maximum height of berm and fence together would be 8 feet. And then there will be a landscape plan also in your packet, which shows hedging along the perimeter. Staff has recommended some conditions of approval relating to how far that fence height variance goes basically to the north. So from here to the north, and what it says is really from this point back on the property, here's the front of the property, here's the side property, and this is where the elevation changes along 22nd Avenue North. And then here's the natural area. And what that shows is how the fence height, we're allowing them to kind of reduce their fence height if they wish to the property, but not any further than basically this line perpendicular. We'd like, so that way the fence height is not 8 feet all the way along the back to the adjacent neighbor. So it's only really this property. What's interesting is a variance was previously granted to the property across the street for kind of a similar reason and a similar configuration to what the Bloxlands are proposing. As conditioned, staff has determined that the request is consistent with the strategic plan, and the city's LDRs for variance required findings. The staff recommended conditions are on pages 4 and 5 of the staff report. The motions are here if you'd like them. The Bloxlands are here as well if you have any questions, and I can of course pull up the aerial if you want to take another look at that to see. If you want some more details on that. Did you want me to pull up the aerial?
Very nice.
Are the Bloxlands are here, you said? Are they okay with the staff conditions? So they reviewed those and they're okay with an agreement with the staff conditions?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of see, here's the aerial, and let me just share this so the folks at home can see it. But here's their property. This is a similar variance was granted along here. They're requesting the same as their adjacent neighbor. And when staff looked at the issue, there is variances have very specific criteria, and they can't be granted. They have to be granted because there's an issue related to the lot or the function, function of the property itself, a condition of the property. They can't be granted because it's hard or it's more expensive or it's, you know what I mean? It has to be because there's a reason in this particular lot that would warrant this type of fence. Where it's different from every other property in the neighborhood.
The other question too, I mean, they back up against the sort of dead end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they're covering, you're covering with greenscape in front of it, some bushes or something from what I see from the drawings, you know?
Yeah, Carla, if you could get up and introduce yourself and talk about your application. They're proposing their side fences are required to be set back 30 inches and have a landscape screen. And they're proposing to comply with that requirement.
At 1802.
The first photo that you see is actually our neighbor's fence.
Awesome.
And the second photo is how it appears. We actually live on a dead end, so we're not affecting anyone else on that block. And when he was appointed his variance or given his variance several years ago, we thought it would be a great idea, but we also had ficus hedges along the side of our property, which you can see. We finally got tired of having the ficus, and And we had one day, we went outside in our backyard. We had a homeless person sleeping inside our enclosed back porch. And so that really brought the issue home that we needed to make our property more secure. So that's when we decided to go ahead and get the concrete wall along the side. And if you, the other picture is actually the city's property that is behind it. And so the city's property, it needs to be fixed up. Yeah.
Call code enforcement.
It's unfortunate Jamie left. That's more his department.
That's fine. And they recently cut down some trees and cut it back. So I'm grateful for that. But we do wish to put the wall here and put some landscape in front of it to mimic the sign is. And if the city ever does develop that property, I think that having both pieces of property identical in scale would make the entranceway into the city look more like the city.
Apologies, just looking for some clarification. So my understanding is that the wall would run along the street that approaches 95, and then it would also go in the back of your property?
We already had a wall along the back of our property that was approved several years ago.
Okay.
This is actually joining that wall, and you really can't see it, but behind that bush on the end, the wall, actually, the acre wall is curved. It turns the corner. And so we just want to meet with that wall and extend it all the way to it.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the public?
And the conditions of approval, if I can, they address the issue here. You can see there's a grade change here and then the grade goes down there. We allowed them, they're going to do a gate here and then the grade change along here allows their fence to slope down to, so they don't have to drop 2 feet right at the corner. So that's what the staff condition does, is it allows them to drop down to 6 feet in the front where the gate would be.
There's no other questions.
No question. Make a motion?
Okay, I would move to approve PZB project number 22-015-00003 with the staff recommended conditions for variance to the maximum allowed wall fence height to allow the proposed placement of a 6-foot wall supported by a 2-foot earthen beam. The application meets the variance criteria based on the data and analysis in the staff report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, should we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, unanimous. Thank you. Moving along. PZB
Doesn't work.
22-005-00010. A conditional use permit for Peters Appliances and More at 1321 North Dixie Highway for the establishment of a 7,000 square foot appliance retail facility designated as single destination commercial use by the LDR section 23.326, medium intensity commercial uses. Use area less than 7,500 square feet and or medium intensity impact uses. The subject is zoned mixed use Dixie Highway MU-DH and has a future land use designation of mixed use East MUE. I'm very familiar with that section of town. Okay, staff, had any presentation?
Yes. Sure. Thank you.
I think it's off. You know, I know the mics are, if it's too much feedback, Sherry, we can use the one, you can point Dan's mic or Scott and he can just project out. Yeah, just get a little, just shout it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, staff agrees with the Planning and Zoning Division. The item before you is Peters Appliances to request for consideration of a conditional use permit for a 7,000 square foot single destination commercial use located at 1321 North Dixie Highway. Subject site is located east of North Dixie Highway between 14th Avenue North and Crestwood Boulevard, and is within the industrial the mixed use Dixie Highway zoning district. The subject site is surrounded by adjacent parcels that also have a mixed use Dixie Highway zoning district designation. Next slide, please. This is a site plan the applicant had submitted. It's not showing all the elements of a typical site plan. However, it is showing where the use area will be located. And the use is going to be within the existing building at the south side located, and the structure is located west. And if you go to the next slide, this is a more detailed site plan. It's actually the landscape plan. You can see what the other site plan is not showing is the amount of parking that is on site. And also during the zoning review, staff had discovered that the landscaping actually with the perimeter landscaping was actually outside of the boundaries of the site. If you want to click the next, there you go. And click the next. So this is where the perimeter landscape is, and it is just outside of the property line. This was due to a developer's agreement from 1986 that was an agreement between the city and the owner to provide maintenance for that perimeter landscaping. And I wanted to point that out because that's going to be part of the conditions, or it's going to be addressed by some landscape conditions a little later. So then this is just the other, you can clearly see that the landscaping, perimeter landscaping is outside the property line. And this is just the overall aerial. So here's some additional information. Again, it's a little bit more detailed information. This is from the staff report related to that right of way and the property boundaries and where the landscaping is located. So Peters Appliances is proposing a single destination commercial use for the retail appliance showroom with the potential for additional uses such as office or installation coordination. And the structure itself does have two additional businesses located there, as indicated on the slide. Bravo Supermarket since around 2015, and Brothers Washing Laundromat since 2011. And there does appear to be another suite that's located there, but there's no active business license that staff could find. This project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, city's LDRs, community appearance criteria, specific standards for all conditional uses, and the additional standards related to the single destination commercial uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval with conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
Just add that whenever we see that there is a bay where we know there's a business, but there's no business license, we let the property owner know that they are responsible for ensuring that their tenants all have business licenses. And then we refer that case out to code enforcement for follow-up. Or code compliance. So we've informed the property owner that one bay that tenant needs to also be licensed, and that if they're not licensed, then there's going to be follow-up with that.
Yeah, and I just want to add that this is going to be more important with CA Precision, which is the third item on the final item on the agenda. It's in that scenario where there's some businesses that may be there without active business licenses. So just give you a heads up on that coming up.
Who fished up the development agreement from the 80s?
We have a lot of records. Okay. Like you would be actually, our property files are pretty impressive. We have property file records from the 20s, 30s, 40s, like all the way back. And because you've worked in the historic, there's amazing, and Dan too, it's amazing what you can fish up. And not all cities have such robust property. So we're really lucky in that we have so many historic districts and we have so many historic records. It's really, of course, you never have the record that you need, but
Little pot luck sometimes, but it's
Yeah. So we can go through the conditions of approval if you'd like. I know we have the applicant here.
If you have any questions for the applicant, they are available. And staff's available for questions also.
Okay. Is there anything else that the staff would like to add? Would the applicant like to say anything, or you can come up and say your name and
Hello, everyone. My name is Plinio Ventura. We are family-owned business. When I say family-owned business, when you buy something, you're gonna see my face or my wife's face. Probably see my kids around too. We currently have a location in Fort Lauderdale. That was our first store. We have a warehouse where we store. You will see on all the details. We store our merchandise there and also our trucks overnight. Everybody who we hire in our business are within the community. And, we just want to do the right thing and conduct business the right way and be part of the labor city. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Sorry.
No.
I'm nervous. I don't. Thank you.
Yeah.
You do repair too, or you just sell?
We don't do repairs. Now, we have the contract of servicing the things that we sell from certain brands. For example, we got Speedy Queen that we retail and we do a service for our customers, and we have Thor as well. So we don't do repair. We don't do repair inside or anything like that. Everything we sell is new or new open bags with manufacturer warranty. For example, we have a contract with Lowe's and Best Buy, where we buy their display models and we resell at a cheaper price. But that will have manufacturer warranty. So if I sell you an LG product, LG will go to your home and give you the manufacturer warranty for the item. Okay.
Now, this is just, so this is just a showroom. You won't be selling anything there? Is that?
Well, it's a showroom. Depending on when you go to a showroom, you see what we have available, and then you will pick something, and then the delivery will come out of our warehouse. All right. So, here and there will probably have a microwave or some sale. It will come from the store. Or if you wish to pick up at the store, we can arrange the item to arrive at the store, and then you can pick it up right in there.
I was just curious as to, you're going to be open 7 days a week, very long hours.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. We work in service. We work. It's retail. When you work in retail, we have 3 years on the other store, and we have been doing good because you go to Home Depot and Lowe's, people run away from you. They don't want to help you out. You go to my store, we have a conversation. When I don't have a driver, I deliver the stuff myself. It's that type of business. So we are open 7 days a week, and that's what we do. We only deliver Monday through Friday though.
Okay.
So my understanding, at least from reading this and your explanation, is, I guess, something that would be of concern to me for a business like yours would basically just be trucks moving in and out. But it's my understanding that's not the case. I'm sure, you'll have a truck coming from time to time to load off some new displays or some models, but, there won't be a warehouse and, crews of guys unloading and doing deliveries from the back that would come from your your warehouse in Fort Lauderdale, you mentioned. Right. All right. Thank you.
That's the way it is. We don't have, you need a dock to unload one of those trucks, right? So that's not the setup we have here. So everything goes there, everything gets unloaded there. You will definitely see a truck bringing some stuff in and out, right? But nothing, you won't see trucks, around the neighborhood blocking any ways or anything like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question for the city. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears, and if you would prefer to wait until we review the conditions, that's totally great. But it appears no real construction being done, anything like that. I'm sure you'll have some build out of some sort, but it would appear that most of the recommendations being made are strictly to landscaping.
Yes. Primarily landscaping, yes.
Understood. Understood. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Comments or yes, I think I said this to somebody else. I'm assuming you're leasing the space from the property owner.
Correct.
And I'm assuming the property owner is probably responsible for most of these landscape improvements. So you're on the hook in terms of getting your certificate of occupancy that he has those finished.
Yeah.
Just make sure you stay on top of it. Yeah.
So there's going to be a common theme with the conditional use permits that you're going to hear tonight related to landscape conditions. So our intent is to provide a quicker pathway for obtaining or to getting these landscape conditions complied with. So basically, we're asking owners, tenants to submit a landscape application to the city that's reviewed and approved by city staff prior to business license issuance. So as long as we have that plan in place, again, this is, as the staff report indicates, this is really just to help these businesses get a quicker path to a business license approval. They will be on the hook for not meeting these deadlines, and code compliance will be informed. We want to make sure that these mechanisms are in place. So I just want to, again, just inform the board that this is going to be a common theme tonight with these three.
And Dan, to your point, I think just looking at the condition, that was our intent, is to have the landscape application needed to be submitted prior to the issuance of the business license, but not the installation. So if you see there's another condition down there, it meant that the business license is linked to the landscape application with installation within 9 months of the CUP development order. So basically 9 months from today, we'd like to see that landscaping out there. And it's not a lot. I mean, it's basically replanting the existing beds where there's holes and dead things, like
So I'm sorry, just because I don't want to put you guys in any bind, item number 2, which would be on page 7, says no certificate of occupancy shall be granted until all conditions of approval have been satisfied. And then I do see where you have the 9 months from the issuance of the CUP, but the intent is that you would issue a CO for them if things are in process. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think that we just didn't clear that up. We had a kind of a big packet to get out, so we maybe should have tidied that a little bit. But what we can do is we can clarify that condition in the development order, that it is in fact the permit within 6 months and the installation.
I like the way that you're handling this. I think it's a good way, but I always want them to make sure that the person leasing the space is aware that they're on the hook for the performance of their landlord, basically.
And I have a public works condition, right?
Yeah, that is a public works condition. So that's a separate condition.
Yeah, it's a public works condition, just to clarify. Plan and zoning condition.
Yeah.
And what were the public works conditions? They
I
were,
think they were standard conditions.
So then,
Hmm.
okay. All right.
should be CC. Right. I know.
You've read the conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try my best to communicate with the landlord and, hopefully having work on our side. They doing everything they can to get us going on business, and I understand, that once we occupy the space, it's gonna have more liquidity to do everything has to do with the property.
Okay. So, any other questions, anything else?
Yeah, in item 3, who's gonna be responsible for the cost for the site?
The property owner is always responsible ultimately for the improvements. If the property owner negotiates with the tenant to do the things, that's a private thing. So basically we condition the conditional use. If the conditions are not upheld, then that case gets referred to code enforcement for non-compliance with the development order. And then that will go through the code enforcement process. And then they'll have additional time to comply with code enforcement.
Doesn't have the owner there.
Well, the owner is always responsible. Yeah. We don't have to say the property owner. We could just say that this has to happen.
Between the owner and the tenant, they have to figure out who is going to be responsible for getting into. We don't make that determination.
And we try not to say because it's really not our business. We just need it to happen by a time period. So whoever wants to pay for it, we're cool with that. You know?
Okay. Anything else?
Put forward a motion to approve with conditions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yep, sorry. Yeah, I move to approve PZB project number 22-005-00010 with staff recommendations, conditions, or excuse me, with staff recommended conditions for a conditional use permit request to establish a 7,000 square foot appliance retail facility designated as a signal destination commercial use in the mixed use Dixie Highway MUDH zoning district located at 1321 North Dixie Highway based upon the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and in the testimony at the public hearing.
And if I could just clarify your motion, and I just wanted to say that would reflect the discussion that Dan brought out, the clarifying that the business license within with the landscape permit, not the installation.
Understood.
Yeah. So, second. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, welcome.
Okay. We have PZB 22-005-00011 conditional use permit, once again, request by Hodel Associates LLC at 1800 4th Avenue North, the Unit C, for the establishment of a 9,600 square foot high-intensity industrial use factory manufacturing facility. The subject site is zoned Industrial Park of Commerce and has a future land use designation of industrial, which is very close. So is anyone here with the staff like to give its presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the record, Scott Rodriguez with the Planning and Zoning Division. The item before you is Total Associates request for consideration of conditional use permit for a 9,600 square foot factory or manufacturing use located at 1800 4th Avenue North, Unit C. Subject site is located west of Industrial Street and south of 4th Avenue North and is with the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district. The subject site is generally surrounded by adjacent parcels that also have an IPOC zoning district designation with compatible industrial uses. Hey, Aaron, can you?
Oh,
go to
sorry.
That's okay. Next slide, please.
One job.
So this is a site plan that the applicant had submitted. Just want to make a note, north arrow is to the left. The use area will be within the existing middle building. On the west side is outlined in red. And next slide, please. This is a zoomed in version of that is shown essentially the floor plan of what square footage of the use area is going to be. Next slide. So the structures were built between 1965 and 2005, and this is including all the structures. The structure that the use area will be located in was built in 1986. And as indicated before, the request is for a factory or manufacturing facility that's going to provide online mining accessories, power supply repairs, hosting and mining services. And in addition to the current use request, there are 2 active business licenses on premise: Arcstone Trading since 2015 and DS Powder Coating since 2006. And there does appear to be another suite located in the structure, but does not have an active business license. And project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, city's LVRs as condition and additional conditional use standards. And therefore, staff is recommending approval with conditions. And the applicant is here as well as the owner of the site. So they're available for questions and staff is available for questions.
Okay, is there anything in particular from the staff that you'd like to point out from us from the review of this?
No, just again, to just remind you that the landscape condition is similar to a previous project and that we're trying to get the business in quicker so they can start connecting business.
And no retail and outdoor storage as it says in the
Condition as well.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to say something? Come on. Thank you. Please state your name and your address.
Okay. Hi, how are you? My name is Kasim Shakat. I'm with Hodel Associates.
Okay.
Right now, currently running in Davie, Florida, looking to move up to a little larger of location. I'm running at 1,800 square feet now. We're able to find something a little larger here in Lake Worth and looking forward to joining the team here.
Quick question for you. It was referred to as mining, but then I saw a lot of technical references. Are you doing cryptocurrency mining or industrial mining equipment?
So really my real niche is I'm able to repair ASIC mining boards. So I have these small manufacturing little, I guess you can say 6x6 tables that I'm showing you little. These mining boards go bad on a regular basis. So a lot of these companies have hundreds of these boards. So I've over time, about 3 years now, I've been doing it, find a little niche to actually start repairing these boards. It's automated. These boards are put on a table and they actually, so after doing the repair, you've got to put them back together. So this is the glue that actually holds them back together. So the chips, it's an automated process, but it takes, each one of these tables are about 6x6 and they kind of run down the line. So a board would come in, something like this, we would take off the board, we do the repair, and then after repair, we get them glued back on. So.
And this is for blockchain.
Yes, for blockchain, exactly.
Interesting.
Any questions?
Any additional questions for staff?
No, I do have a question for the, I used to be the architect for IBM here in Boca Raton many years ago. And we designed quite a bit of computer labs and other rooms at 2.1 million square feet at the time. One of the biggest issues we had with all the production facilities was the waste. And what type of waste will you have?
What type of waste?
Is
So
there any
really,
oil waste or?
no, we're remanufacturing the boards. So people would send in their boards damaged. We would then take them apart, we assemble them, put it right back together. So essentially, I'm not throwing away any of the boards that are coming in. We're just remanufacturing them and ship them right back out.
And the glues and the epoxies and the things you're doing and the soldering, I mean, there will be some soldering.
Specifically, it's glue.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically, it's glue to glue the heat sink directly back to the board.
Okay, and that glue, is it, I mean, what I'm getting at is that in this type of manufacturing, as small as it may be, I'm just worried that at some point or another, I don't know if staff has been alerted to the fact that some of these things could be hazardous, or the glues itself could be different epoxies or things that could, I don't know. You obviously have a plan to get rid of these things, is that correct?
Yeah.
When he would come in for a business license, we would require him to submit an affidavit to the county for a well fill permit, because pretty much all of our industrial areas are also in our well field. That's what happens when you have a 100-year-old city. So he will be required to submit to Palm Beach County Environmental Resources Management for monitoring, and any type of substance over 5 gallons that potentially is toxic will he'll have to register, and it's a minimum of an inspection annually, if not
I
something.
was just asking because it's one of these things that a lot of people will kind of overlook, and you're in a community where, there's kids and people and families.
Yeah.
And that requirement is conditioned.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will add that when we take these through SPRT, and then when he goes through the process for the use and occupancy inspection, and anytime our engineer triggered to look at it, our stormwater engineer, if there's an issue with a manufacturing facility or something, it's make sure that we make sure that there's no runoff, or that where they're going to be doing the manufacturing is on an impermeable surface, and that they're connected to the well field. So all of that stuff, whenever it's triggered, is looked at that. So
just wanted to make sure. That's all it is. Okay, thank you.
Could we clarify in terms of the landscaping? I see you gave a 1-month time frame.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 2 months. There was a typo, and the conditions say 2 months. In the staff report, it says 1. It is 2 months to get the landscaping installed. This is minimal landscaping, right, Chris? So it's just basically they need to go plant some hedges. So we gave them 2 months to plant some hedges.
Okay.
And the owners already submitted a landscape permit for that, so they're kind of ahead, in getting this condition complied with.
And Scott, did you want to bring up, like, this is, we've let the owner know, the property owner know that they need to contact all of their businesses and make sure every business has a business license. And we've referred the property to code compliance, that if we don't start seeing business license applications and for all the occupied bays, that we will, code enforcement will be issuing a notice of violation. for
Yes,
that.
we're coordinating with the owner on this. So it's the next project that is probably more of a compliance issue, but that's getting addressed. But in this case, the owner has been in coordination with staff on all these.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that it was all.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
And I have the motions up on,
Okay, we have a motion.
so motions are up on the screen as well, so you can just read them.
Real quick, I'm so sorry. Could I ask you one more question if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. First off, from a personal perspective, I love seeing this type of manufacturing, repair, refurbishing, whatever you want to call it, in Lake Worth Beach of all places. I didn't expect to see a high-tech application up until you came up. I thought we were talking about mining equipment. The only thing I do want to point out, no mean to piggyback on the waste, is I am assuming this property would be under the purview of Lake Worth municipality, trash collection, refuse collection, things like that. I suppose it would most likely be minimal, as optimally from a business model, you want to return your product to your customer.
Absolutely.
But my one concern would be that, Lake Worth Beach doesn't take electrical waste. I'm a little bit of a pseudo engineer who didn't finish that track in school. So, I have to take my breadboards to the dump and things like that. I don't believe it would be within my purview. City, correct me if I'm wrong, but to recommend it as a condition. But I guess I would just
What
simply.
you could do is you could recommend a modification that they coordinate with Public Works on their refuse pickup to make sure that there's no inappropriate waste. And then if there's a specialty, if they require a specialty waste pickup, that's through our normal process anyway. They would, as a business, they would contact and they would enter into basically a contract to pick up their waste. And then the Public Works would tell them what types of waste they can put in there, and then they would require them anyway. But if just to be extra sure, we can always have a condition of approval to require them to coordinate their waste pickup and to arrange for appropriate specialty waste pickup if needed.
Okay. All right, I got what I needed. Thank you so much.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, I move to approve.
We've been forgetting to ask for public comment. Just
You've done it sometimes, but not every time.
Right.
Let's make sure to call that every time.
Is there a public comment? I didn't see enough.
Yeah, I know.
In the back to ask, but it's dwindling. So is there any public comment at this point?
no, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so would you like to proceed with your motion?
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve PZB project 2200500011 with staff recommended conditions for a conditional use permit request to establish a factory or manufacturing use in the industrial park of commerce zoning district located at 1800 4th Avenue North, based upon the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and the testimony at the public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so I guess we have a unanimous. Thank you. Okay, on our last item, PZB 2200500009, a conditional use permit request by CA Precision at 1106 Fifth Avenue South for the establishment of a manufacturing facility for prototypes designated as fabrication services, manufacturing, processing, assembly, excluding retail display and sales use. The subject site is zoned artisanal industrial and has a future land designation of artisanal mixed use AMU. Okay, staff, do you have a presentation to show us? And this seems like it's a tricky one.
I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you. For the record, Scott Rodriguez with the Planning and Zoning Division. The item before you is CA Precision's request for consideration of the conditional use permit for a 750 square foot fabrication services, manufacturing, processing, assembly, excluding retail display and sales use, located at 1817. Subject site is located north of Fifth Avenue South and west of the railroad tracks and is within the artisanal industrial zoning district. Aaron, if you could just hit the next couple slides. This is a site plan that the applicant had submitted. Again, please note that the north is to the left. And the use area is going to be within the existing building as identified on the slide. Next slide, please. So apologize for the scanned version on this, but this is the most recent landscape plan, I believe, submitted in 2000. It does show some landscaping at the south end of the structure, and it's also proposing a drainage area. And both are being conditioned by staff as part of the approval to update the landscaping and the drainage. I just wanted to show you the approved plan at that time. The project, actually, I think the next slide. Again, here's just some additional detail related to that site plan, the structure, the landscape plan. The structure was built around 78. And again, the landscape plan and the drainage area was part of the 2000 landscape plan that was submitted. And the applicant is proposing their requested use. And the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, the city's LDRs as condition and conditional use standards. And staff is recommending approval with conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
I will add that the stormwater condition was from the stormwater engineer because there is ponding on the site. Typically, we don't require for existing sites any additional stormwater. They're vested for their stormwater, but there is a mitigation issue that needs to be addressed on the site, which is why it was brought up.
Puddling and problems with the foundation and things like that around it, or?
We're not sure, but what it was noted, I mean, it's not often for conditional use, like you'll see stormwater conditions for site changes or additions or buildings. It's very rare we do a full stormwater condition for a conditional use in an existing building. So the engineer felt like there was enough there that they needed to mitigate something, that there was
Typically flood the parking lot or cause problems to the foundation or have the building that'll sink over to the side. So the engineer will come out and make that recommendation.
They tried to mitigate it in 2000 and the engineer just said it wasn't enough. You know, they need a little bit more.
Ouch. Okay. Is the applicant here?
Yeah, it is here.
Like to come up, sir?
My name is Hrpb.
Mhm.
I'm a resident here of Lake Worth, been living here for 8 years.
Mhm.
And I've been a machinist for 30 years. And doing prototyping for fine work and extremity, low and higher extremities, and bone screws, bone plates, and stuff like that. And I've been doing it so long, so I just decided to take some of my 401k and start up something myself, you know. But basically, the engineer designs it and I just do everything, and, you know, program the machine, tooling, process, everything. But I just, you know, take the risk and try to, you know, get myself going by myself. So, and here I am.
That's good. Another high-end
All this
business.
work and like,
I know. Another high-tech business for Lake Worth. Very good. So
I will mention that the stormwater condition is not tied to the business license.
Right.
We're giving the property owner 12 months to implement the storm. I mean, it's been like this since 1978. So we're giving them a little time to fix it. And then this will be, it will be on the property owner.
Depending on what it is, you may have to rip up like a parking lot or something.
It's most likely going to be, it's going to be substantial.
It's substantial, yeah, the right road, yeah. So. That's great. That's great. You're following your thing and starting your own, and that's awesome. It's
Thank you.
great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so, yeah, good. Okay. Back to the old thing. What about, you work typically with precious metals, right?
yes, be using brass, stainless steel. and plastic as well.
Okay, that's interesting. And I guess you probably have a recycling regimen because a lot of that is very recyclable and usable and you'll get it remanufactured and redone and
I
that.
have already contacted, the guy I used to work on where I used to work.
All right,
He has a company, hauling company,
Alright.
services. And he'll be picking up the.
that's very valuable.
I would segregate everything for him. He'll pick it up. He'll take it to a metal supply up there and, have it right here, the scrap yard up there, and he'll take it up there and sell it.
Right,
So I don't have to even pay for him. So he'll just sell it up there. We'll pick it up and haul it, sell it up there.
that's fine. Now, they are precious,
Very
semi-precious.
scrap metal.
That's fine. I'm sure that it's pretty good stuff. So I know that people need it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, it's fine. My question.
Any additional questions for staff or the applicant?
Now it is the owner that is going to be responsible for the storm drainage and the issues, or
The condition is tied to this development order, the approval of the development order, the notice of violation. If it's not complete, will go to the property owner because the property owner is ultimately
he
responsible
knew
for.
he had it, right, for a long time.
I'm sure he's aware he has flooding in the parking lot.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank
A
you.
little nervous here.
Questions? We've got. You've got some conditions listed on the landscaping, but then you included this previous landscape plan. The conditions are what governs the plan which was provided for information, right?
The plan was provided for information, yes.
Okay.
It was intended to show you that some existed, but really the primary intention was to show that drainage area. But the landscape plan was, there was some additional landscape plan.
Two trees. And they weren't included in there, so I want to make sure you weren't putting.
No,
It looks great, but a tree, 5 feet behind.
no, the conditions, yeah, they give right.
This is solid. It's not.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And that will establish a new plan. Better plan. Hopefully for everybody.
Ricardo, I just want to share when I was studying for this meeting last night and I read over your letter to the Planning and Zoning Board that you submitted back in May. Very much like that. I just love seeing people coming to town, doing something they love, doing something they know. So thanks for taking a risk for yourself and taking a risk in our town. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think we all do. Beyond that, I have no further questions.
Anything else from the board? Staff? And the public? Anything? Okay, so I guess we could move on. Is there a motion for precision?
I'll go ahead and do it. So I will move to approve PZV project number 22-005-00009 with staff recommended conditions for conditional use permit, requests to establish a fabrication services, manufacturing, processing, assembly, excluding retail display and sales use in the artisanal industrial zoning district located at 1106 Fifth Avenue South, based on the competent and substantial evidence provided in the staff report and in the testimony of the public hearing.
Do I hear a second? Okay, so shoot out for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So. Any planning issues from the staff? Ms. Parole?
Actually, we do, I think the next item, sorry. The next item on the agenda is planning issues. I just wanted to take a quick minute because I know a lot of you guys are new and so if you're not familiar with the development process, the different types of applications that you will see on this board. So as you see, you saw a lot of conditional uses tonight. And so we have 3 types of uses in the city. We have uses that are permitted by right, which goes straight to business license. We have uses that are administrative approvals, and that's a staff level approval. And then we have conditional use approvals. And these conditional use approvals, these are uses that may impact other properties. And one of the reasons why we saw an assembly manufacturing use at that size come in AI is because AI is a mixed use district. So for example, that one may have residential next to a manufacturing use. So we want to kind of look at those things, especially when we're mixing industrial and residential. So depending on which district, different uses will have different thresholds of review. The only review is the conditional use permit that you all see. When we look at a conditional use, we're looking at overall general compliance with the LDRs. And as you've seen, a lot of stuff is vested, it's existing. It kind of is what it is. And what we do is we look for opportunities to comply specifically on our major thoroughfares with our major thoroughfares design guidelines. In the past, we've required properties to remove concrete, install landscaping, improve traffic flow, add dumpsters. A lot of our properties don't have proper refuse pickup and things that are and they're introducing larger uses. So we're looking at the function of the site and making sure that site can function for this use because we have a lot of non-conformities. We have a lot of weird in Lake Worth. So so that's kind of that use basket. And then the last time you saw an ordinance where you were the recommending body, right? So for these types, you're the approving body, you're the final authority. And then if people don't agree with your decision, then they can appeal your decision to the city commission. And then when for an ordinance for a plan development where you're looking at that second tier sustainable bonus, you're making a recommendation. Also in your hat as the local planning agency, which every jurisdiction in the state of Florida has to designate a local planning agency. You're going to be reviewing land development regulations, amendments, LDRs. You've heard us use this word, LDRs. Land development regulations, amendments and amendments to our comprehensive plan and zoning map amendments. You all will be the recommending body for that basket of items. And then finally, we have the last basket, which is our major site plan and our first tier of sustainable bonus. That's just basically height and a little height and intensity. Everything else like density and all that other stuff, that's going to go to city commission for that next tier. So you're going to see those applications before you. And then for those major site plans, you are the final authority for those projects as well. So I think that's it. You've elected your chair, you've done your tidying, your organization. Look at Robert's rules, especially you.
Great read. I look forward.
I think that's it. So I think we've done a lot and this was a heavy agenda. So good job, everybody. Thank you.
Anybody from the public? See this gentleman here, would you like to say anything to the board or?
No, I was here for 2.2 Road.
It's continued to the next
To the
meeting.
next meeting.
Yeah, that's it's October 19th.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so the department reports, I guess because of Yom Kippur, we have the October 19th meeting, which we'll see this gentleman who just left. That'll be fine. Any board member comments?
I do have something that I want to bring up.
Mhm.
So at the last meeting that we had, we approved a project that was the 5-story residential tower. I did go back through it and I reviewed the code and I'm not comfortable with the interpretation in terms of the height. And I provided some comments last night to the city commission meeting. It got tabled to a future one, but I'd like to be able to provide those, I guess, to the clerk to have them be provided to the rest of the board and staff. I just want to make sure I do through sunshine law. I'd like this to be a topic that we discuss because I know part of our not only reviewing projects, part of it we discussed at the last meeting that we do have the ability to discuss on our own LDRs and recommendations. We might make the clean them up and improve the language. And I think that there's some ambiguity in the language with regards to that table in particular. And in particular, the fact that it references a train station, but that doesn't get applied to the, there's just some, for me, there's some ambiguity there. So I went through and I kind of put together my thoughts on it, shared it with the commissioners already, but I'd like to share it with this board and with staff and wasn't sure the proper way to do that.
The building over and
That's right.
What would you recommend? Just
Right. Well, these are board member comments, so this is.
Should I share those?
so, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Once we're done, meeting, 2 hours. We can talk about.
Right. So, so there's a couple different things. So first, what Dan is asking is, she will talk to you about that. You still should not be, you have to be careful, even though you've made a recommendation about, going forward.
What he's talking about now is not specifically related to that project anymore. It's really that, let's talk about the code, and is there a change that we would recommend in the code, and that will come back to you. But you are in the sunshine right now. This is a notice public meeting, so you're good.
But
Yeah.
in terms of sharing a file.
Yeah, so you need to send it to staff.
Okay.
And then what we would do is you would request to put a discussion on the agenda with what you would, and then what we would do is then we would put it on the agenda and we would attach, let's say you wanted to do an email summary of why you're concerned, or you wanted to provide some issue, then we would distribute it to the board. So you can't directly distribute it to the board. It would come through us, and then it's in the sunshine because it's on a board.
I wasn't sure if that went to the clerk or the attorney or staff.
We're all staff,
Sure.
so it goes to us, and then, so you just send it to me, honestly.
Sure.
You can send it to Sherry, Sherry's gonna send it to me and William,
And we've had this come up.
I think
We've
I-
had this
I
come
probably
up
sent it to you last
before.
night with the Commission
Uh,
comments, but then I got tabled, so.
It's fine.
If you enter the portal, if you know anybody that enters the portal, from comments to this meeting, must be through the advisory board portal. If you enter comments for anything commission related through the advisory board portal, it will not go to the proper portal. So if you enter something for city commission into the advisory board portal, it will not reach the commission.
No, I don't. I sent it as a direct email, but regardless, I don't think I did it the right way, so I'll have to do it through the portal in the future.
So for any of you all, if you have things like that you saw something in the land development regulations, or, something has come up that you'd like for it to be a discussion item, send it to staff. We'll make sure it's an agenda item for discussion, and something like that, where you're looking at language in the land development regulations that either you want to see modified, or if there's something missing that you want to add or whatnot. Any changes there, you all would discuss, and you can either make a recommendation to make changes or not make that recommendation, in which case staff would either, draft the changes that are recommended and take those through the process, or we wouldn't, and then it would just stop. So that's kind of how.
So start with us. If you have something like that, just email me and just say that you'd like to have it become a discussion item. And then we can walk through what the next steps are. Okay. So advocating for projects. So if you want to submit a public comment, we have had some folks get in a little trouble because they're straddling a line of so you have to remember you're acting here as unbiased judges. So when you come here and you are, how do we put this?
So again, and we talked about this a little bit last time when we talked about it very briefly at the beginning of this meeting. Most of what you all hear are quasi judicial proceedings. And in quasi judicial proceedings, the reason there is disclosure requirements for ex parte communication is because you are supposed to be a neutral decision maker. So anytime you have a predetermined bias, or you have received information from other people or from investigation of your own accord that would sway your decision in a manner that comes from an outside source other than what you would hear as part of the public hearing that you're presiding over, that's why you have to disclose it, so that the applicant is aware that you have received some additional information in some way, what that additional information is, and they can take action if they feel like it's significant and going to impact them. One of the steps in that quasi judicial disclosure is if you've had the some ex parte communication and you're then the question is, can you still be a neutral decision maker on this item? We have had people before that say, no, I've already made up my mind before I got here. So when you make up your mind before you get to the meeting and hear all the evidence presented at the meeting by staff and the applicant, then you're not a neutral decision maker and you cannot be part of the decision making.
And some of this has to be like your communication, your social media post, all of that can be used for litigation. You're a final decision maker, especially if you're denying something. If you're on social media before the meeting, this project's terrible, get out there, you need to come and make sure so we can vote it down. And that's your social media post 3 hours before the meeting. And then you come and you're like, hey, I can be a neutral decision maker on this.
No.
You're not putting yourself in a good position or the city in a good position
You approve.
for your,
And your
yeah.
neighborhood's like going crazy against you, that's a real problem too.
Yeah. So you gotta I would just say, stay off social media about projects, especially anything. Don't text your friends about it, try to just try to minimize your bias. You're going to have conversations in the city. It's going to happen, but remember, you have to come with it. You're stating here as part of your job that you're coming to this with an open mind. And so just be mindful of everything. And remember that because you're a board member, just if I'm texting about a project and you're texting about a project, your texts are subject to the sunshine law and they can be subpoenaed. So just
You can go to jail.
you can go to jail if you hide them. So it is a serious stuff. And we're arming you with information. So you come and, you're volunteering. You shouldn't have to feel, you should know what your responsibilities and roles are and where your limits are. So you're safe and protected as a volunteer for our city.
Just to clarify, you talked about this last week too, and then you made sure the caveat was we definitely can read through staff report before the meeting and we can start formulating opinions based on what you present to us.
For
We don't have to
sure.
come to this meeting completely.
No.
We
Right.
should do our
That-
homework
that's
and
part of
research
the evidence
what
that-
you gave us.
Yes, that's part of the
Okay.
evidence that's presented at the hearing. So that part, that book is.
We want you to read your staff report before you come to the meeting, actually.
Wanted to clarify.
So, and you can talk to people, but you need to disclose it. You need a disclosure. So when disclosures are very important. So when you have communication or you visit a site or any of those things, you need to disclose them. And then once you've disclosed it, you're in the sunshine. You should.
Supposed to.
Well,
Okay, but
Well, it's not, you're not going to go to jail because you visited the site, Mark, but say that next time. Okay.
Well, so and I've had this discussion with other boards too, driving by the site to see where it is, the general nature of it. That's not really like investigating the site. You're not getting out and walking around and kicking the tires and it's too hot. Yes, exactly. But if you do a site visit where you really, take a tour around the site, that's what you would want to disclose.
If you meet with the property owner and take a tour with the property, you want to disclose that. You want to disclose everything.
And to clarify, that's best disclosed as soon as possible, written communication, email to you guys.
Disclosure.
You probably don't appreciate me showing up at a meeting and be like, oh, by the way.
Well,
So,
so at the beginning of the meeting, you'll always see we ask for board disclosures. That's what that is intended to catch. We do them globally instead of with each item. So hopefully, before you get into the rhythm of the meeting, you can lay everything on the table. Anytime you have written communications, send them to staff. Forever and always. It's always the best practice for public records purposes, for disclosure purposes, all of it. Yeah. And your disclosures, if you are making them verbally, your disclosures include that you had a communication, the type of communication it was and who you had it with, and what the nature of the communication was. So it's pretty detailed. Thanks for volunteering. Surprise.
Welcome. With all that said, so we will adjourn